I'm talking to David Geyer, who is the great grandson of Rebecca Strong, and we've just been talking about how unique it is for someone to know a great grandparent. I don't remember mine. I never knew them, and I certainly didn't even know my grandparents. We've spoken about her often, David, but I wonder if you could recollect for me your most vivid recollection, which involves a railway platform at Wakefield.
Yes, this was 1939, probably the summer of 1939, and she came to visit us. And we went to the station to meet her, and you can imagine a station platform mid-morning. I mean, everybody would be in working clothes. There wouldn't be anything of any great interest. And then out of the carriage comes Rebecca Strong, dressed very like that, if not exactly like that. And she strode down towards us, not hobbled along a step at a time. She strode down like somebody 20 years younger, and that's how we met. And it was quite an occasion.
And she would be well into mid-90s at that?
She would be 95. I think it would be the summer of 39. And that, as it turned out, was the last time I actually saw her. I was 15 when she died, but of course the last 4 or 5 years was wartime, and
yes,
we couldn't get to her.
And on the occasion of this visit, she came all the way herself by train from Chester?
Yeah, she did. And that's one of these, I can't tell you, because of course the trains, there were more trains then, but I think for many years travelling east-west rather than north-south is
yes,
quite a problem. And I don't think for a minute she would get from Chester to Wakefield without changing somewhere.
No, you're probably right there.
Yeah.
She'd gone to Chester, left Glasgow because of the threat of bombing, I believe. She was staying with a grandnephew down there?
Yes, I think that would be the case.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And was that visit a few days, or was it just one day visit?
It would be a few days. I really can't remember, but she wouldn't be with us long. She'd just come and say hello.
She was a busy person.
Yes, I mean it wasn't like having a member of the family. It was all systems go. I mean, not only were the two, myself and my brother, had to be very good, but I think it was quite a thing for my mother and father, and I think everything had to be absolutely right when Rebecca Strong came.
They didn't want anything to go wrong.
No. And she was, of course, my father's granny, and so in the house she was always known to us as Granny Strong.
Right.
We've never referred to her as anything else.
Can you recall anything of her conversation on that occasion? Did she go in for a conversation, or was she not really interested in small talk?
Well, it wouldn't be all hugs. It probably wouldn't be any hugs.
No.
It would be all strictly correct.
She was in her mid-90s then. She was born in 1843 in the Blue Boar Inn in Aldgate, London, where her father was the licensee. She was the 8th child and the last one born to John and Mary Thorogood. Did she ever, that you can recall, speak about any of her brothers or sisters?
No, I was never aware that she had any sisters.
Really?
I never aware that she had any other siblings at all.
Well, when she found herself, she married in 1863, and a year later Annie Ellen was born, your grandmother.
I do remember her.
I'm going to ask you about
yeah,
her,
yeah.
because if we fast forward a bit, we know quite a lot about your grandfather, because he was a pastor, he was an engineer, he was a photographer, an artist, very talented man. But we found it very difficult to get any information about Annie at all. There have been one or two reports that suggest she was a bit cold and formal, not all hugs either. Do you think she got that from Rebecca?
This is the daughter that we're talking
This is
about.
Annie, yes.
Yes, yes. Well, I remember meeting her once in, where was it? In a flat in Glasgow. Trying to remember the name of the road.
Well, we may have a note
it might
of it
come.
here. When they were married, Adolf Hans Geyer and Annie Ellen were living, they had addresses in Govan. They were married in Govan.
Right.
But then they moved to most of Rebecca's addresses have been the West End, Hindland, that area. So it may have been there.
Yeah. No, I might be able to recall it.
Because she doesn't seem to feature much in anyone's memories.
No, well...
And yet she was the mother of 5 children, so she must have been busy.
Yeah. Yes, it's a most odd situation. I really don't know why we didn't know more about it, but I think this was just her way. She didn't...
But also Rebecca didn't have a high opinion for many years of her son-in-law.
No.
Correct?
No. The first time she met any of the others was when my father, and he was the youngest.
Yes.
When my father got married, she came to the wedding.
Right. And were they friends after that?
That was in where was it? I can't remember.
It must have been in Wakefield.
No, it might have been my mother's father was a congregational minister, and I think they might well have been in St Anne's
right.
when they got married.
Right.
Yes.
Well, she apparently was attentive in whatever way, we don't really know, but she was supportive and attentive with her grandchildren. Made me wonder about education. Do you know anything about your father's education? Your father was Westall, who was the youngest of Annie and Adolf's 5 children. And he and his older brother became doctors.
Yeah,
and
right.
You had an aunt who was a nurse?
Aunt Nell.
Yeah.
She became a nurse, yes. And in fact, my mother trained at 6 Children's Hospital in Glasgow, and she did a midwifery course as well.
Right.
So that's probably how my father and her met. And
there are quite a few Geyers about Scotland that probably all come from Rebecca Strong.
Yes. The reason we haven't seen the other brothers is that they live. That all the other Geyers are on the east of Scotland.
Yeah.
And it's quite a trek from one to the other. We never met each other.
Yeah.
And so we decided a few years ago that we really ought to have one day a year when we meet.
Yeah.
And so we arranged to meet part way, and it was very interesting. Just reminiscing. Yeah.
Well, there must be quite a few grandchildren and great-grandchildren now.
Well, funnily enough, our son has 3 girls, and they're all in between 20 and 30, and there's none of them married. The Anna, who is the daughter of our daughter, she's 30 and she's not married. So I don't know. We're still waiting for great grandchildren.
You said that you didn't see a lot of Rebecca yourself. Do you know if she spent any time when she retired visiting other members of the family? Did she go back to London at all? Because that's where a lot of her siblings would
Well,
be.
that I have no knowledge of. I probably met her. Well, I met her in St. Fillan's, and we met her at home when she came to visit. We would really see her possibly at holiday times, because all our holidays were taken in Scotland, never anywhere else.
Yes.
And that carried on right through our marriage. Yeah, we in a few weeks' time we'll be celebrating our 65th wedding anniversary.
Well done. Well done. She was very fond of hill walking, I gather, Rebecca.
Yes.
You have a story about her trying to climb a mountain?
Yeah, she climbed the Matterhorn.
Good Lord.
Now that's no joke.
This was after retirement.
This is after she finished work, I think. Oh, I don't know. No, I don't know when she would do that. In that letter that my brother did, that note that my brother did, said he thought that she was the first to climb the Matterhorn, but we looked it up on the internet, and it doesn't look as if she was the first, but she did climb it.
She did do it. Yeah. Amazing. She possibly, if she was, indoors most of the time working, organising, because her professional life was, we just need to look at the records to see how busy she must have been. She must have maybe found the fresh air and exercise enervating.
Yes. I think she was well aware that if she wanted to stay fit, she needed to get some exercise. Yes.
Do you know how long she remained in St. Fillan's? When she retired, we should mention that she went to, that was in 1907, she went to Wales to live with her oldest sister, Mary.
Yeah, that's right.
But not long after that, Mary died, and it was then, I think, that she came back to St. Fillan's.
Probably. I really don't know how long she was there. It can't have been very long, because she finished up with her relative, didn't she, in Chester?
Yes, he was a Dr. Tyndall, and he was a great nephew.
Yeah.
Grandnephew, sorry. And she was also, when she retired, you may not have been around for much of this time. I mean, you were just young. She seems to spend a lot of time in retirement travelling and talking about nursing, addressing nurses' conferences, mainly directing young nurses in the right ways of the profession.
Yes, I think she spent a lot of time doing lecture tours, I think, and I think where it remarks that she met Mussolini, I think she would probably be on a lecture tour. I can't imagine
she wasn't too impressed with Mussolini.
No, that's right. And yes, my cousin Andy said, in actual fact, I think it would be more true to say that Mussolini met Rebecca Strong.
Would it be, you maybe don't know the answer to this, but would it be reasonable to assume that when she came north for the first time to go to Dundee, that her daughter Annie came with her? Because up till then, it looks as if Annie was looked after by two of her older sisters.
Yes, I think so.
While she was training.
So it appears, yes.
We've found her on voters' roll with two of the sisters in London at the time when Rebecca would be in Winchester, probably. But 1874, she came up to Dundee, We know that she was employed at a salary of £60 a year with board and lodging. One of the things that she was attracted to at Dundee was that it's quite well ahead of its time. They had a nurses' accommodation block.
Yes.
And we believe that she stayed there and that there would be room for Annie to stay with her, because by that time Annie would be 10 and she would be needing education. So it looks as if Annie came to Scotland in 1874 and never went back. But I believe Rebecca always thought of herself as a Londoner, although she'd lived in Scotland for many years.
Yeah, he made a life in Scotland, without a doubt.
Well, she talks about the the second spell as matron at Glasgow Royal Infirmary. We should maybe explain that there was a spell in the middle. She came here in 1879. In 1885, she resigned because the management wouldn't build a nurses' home. And she went off to run her own nursing home, which seems to have been very successful.
Yeah.
And during that time, there was the alliance with Sir William McEwen strengthened, and the pair of them started working very hard on a structured training scheme for nurses. And when she came back in 1890-91, she said that was the start of the most fruitful part of her career. She obviously thoroughly enjoyed it. An amazing woman. And can just to round up, are there any or many members of the Geyer family still working in the NHS that you know of?
No, none of them went into medicine. I wanted to do medicine, but I picked the wrong time. When I was about to start a university course, I think it was almost 90% of university places were reserved for people coming away from the war.
Yeah.
And to get straight from school into a university course you had to be a genius. I was never that.
So your life took a different course.
Yeah.
When was it you retired to Scotland then?
I retired in 1983.
Right.
38 years ago.
And you're now living in the home that was built by your father and mother for their retirement.
Yes, and for 20 years we visited them when we were on holiday.
Right.
Yeah. But yes, we started with a terrible field full of weeds and docks and thistles and nothing growing of any interest. We started with that, and after 10 years we opened it under the Scotland's Garden scheme, and we did the same again 3 times, I think. But as it happened, the first opening after 10 years was probably the best. The weather was absolutely fantastic. There was a regatta going on down below us in the Clyde. There were spinnakers flying, and it was a very, very good day.
Good day for filming.
Yeah.
Well, David, it's been a great pleasure talking to you. Thank you for coming in.
That's a pleasure.
And it's good to have your reminiscences.
Good.
Thanks very much.